we don't give ourselves permission to be fully ourselves. So when I'm trying to pretend to be someone else, I'm always a little shaky because I'm not used to wearing those shoes, right? I'm not used to putting on that fake smile or whatever. But when I can be fully myself, it's like, okay, let's just talk. Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Welcome back to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about sales confidence. And this is important because frequently people hire my company when their sales team is not performing, when they themselves, meaning the owner of the company, who also is generally the salesperson for their company, is not closing enough sales, it's taking them a long time to close sales, they're getting ghosted often, or they're just finding that they're not being as effective in raising revenue for their business as it pertains to sales. And so when I come in or when someone in my team comes in, we often will look at their entire process. And although we often have to make improvements to the process, sometimes what happens is the process itself is not broken. There's not, big gaps in their sales process. But when I talk to the individual and I hear them talking about what they're saying or what they're not saying, or I see what we call profit producing activities that are lacking in their daily routine, I begin to look at something different. I stop looking at the processes and I start talking to them about their level of confidence, how they see themselves, how they believe about the solution that they provide for the people that they're serving. And I find that what's lacking is not necessarily competence. Many times it's confidence. So I want us to have a conversation today, and I invite you to share with me your thoughts, your feedback, your experiences as we're talking about sales confidence and knowing that you have to have internal confidence to be able to really communicate the value that you bring to the table. And so the question I'd like to pose to you is, do you firmly believe that what you do changes the world? It changes the world for the people that you work with, right? The people that you serve. It changes the world for your business. It creates more, income for your business. It creates more opportunities for people to see changes in their lives. When we believe that, it changes the way that we show up. That's one thing that comes to mind. And so I just kind of want to think through that. And I have our producer, Taylor, in the room. So you're going to hear her chat with me a little bit. The one thing I know for certain is that I've had to build my sales confidence because there was a time where even though I loved what I was doing and I love working with people, I love being able to help people, there was a part of me that didn't quite believe that I was, number one, enough. I didn't believe that what I was doing was as impactful as I was telling people that it was. And I didn't believe that I could give them the results that I wanted to be able to give them. And that's a mouthful right there, because we all want to believe that we can do something amazing for our clients. But every now and then, I know for me, we had some broken processes in our company that were kind of creating a problem for fulfillment. And so once that began to happen, my next conversation was a little more tentative, like, I want to sell you this, but I also want to make sure that we're going to be able to deliver it. And it began to really impact my confidence in the way that I was showing up and communicating to clients. So, Taylor, what about you? Have you ever, had that experience? I know that you all do amazing work, and I know you always come across super confident, but what kind of issues have you had with confidence as it pertains to the way you're selling your business?
Well, I think anyone who says that they were always confident would be a liar.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely been times, especially when starting out with your business, of can I really charge this price?
Yes.
And I think I even still run into the issue of it feels like it might be too much. But then when you just do the breakdown of the value, it's like, oh, wait, we should be charging more. And so I think it's really just taking a step back and just trying to be okay, are we really providing value? Yes. And so then we should be confident in the price that you're asking. But I think that's always been my hesitant throughout business.
You are not alone at all. And what's interesting is I know when I had my first, real business coach really pushed me out of my comfort zone in the way that I was charging. it took a lot for me to believe that I could, number one, ask for it and get it. And then, that same concern is like, I sold this, now what? Kind of feeling. And it really took me time to look at everything that I was providing and then look at the results people were getting. So I've had this conversation with my husband recently because we've had some amazing testimonials here recently. And people who are shooting past their sales goals for the first quarter. We had some amazing first quarter results for our clients. And people are saying that they're really seeing changes in their business. And my husband asked me, he goes, so do you believe you're charging enough for the results that you're getting? And I had to step back and really look at, well, shoot, if we can help someone to triple their current income or, increase it by 50 or 70%, then there's something to be said for what we're charging. So I had to begin to look at what we were doing compared to what they were getting and then look at what's the difference between that. All right.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things, especially for people first starting with business, is they just do everything by the hour.
Yeah.
They go, this is my hourly rate. I think it's going to cost this much, time. And so that's what it should be versus looking actually at, well, what value do you, just because you know what you're doing and it may only take you an hour to do it.
Everybody else cannot. That's true. Yeah. And I struggle with that. I'm just like, yeah, just say this, and that. And people are always asking me, how did you say that? Can you record that? And I'm like, yeah, and it's, I believe it's one of my superpowers. It's a gift from God for sure, but everybody can't do that. And I thought that it was just like, no big deal. And I wasn't charging for the shift and the change that people were seeing in their business as a result of what I just kind of take for granted, right? So I think that it's important for us to develop self-confidence because when we have self-doubt, people are buying our confidence first and foremost. And I want you to hear that. People are buying your confidence. I heard Renee Santana, who was on the podcast earlier in a previous episode, she said that sales is a transference of enthusiasm. And so when we can help someone to be enthusiastic about their own transformation because we can help them to get there, it's a game changer. It's a big deal. And so when we have self-doubt, then the likelihood is we're probably not communicating that confidence to the client. And they're missing out because they're now not believing that you can provide the transformation, that you can help them get the result. They can see a change in their lives. And so they miss the opportunity, not because you can't do it, but because you didn't believe. And if you don't believe it, you're not going to share it in that way. Right.
And people need to check out that episode. I love when you shared the definition of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
People still need to watch the episode.
Yeah.
But can you please share with everyone again, what was the definition truly of enthusiasm when you break it down?
Yeah, I love this word so much because we tend to think enthusiasm is rah-rah, excited. So enthusiasm it comes from a Latin word, which is entheos. And the word entheos means God. It means God flowing through. And so when I think about that, it's like, wow, if I'm literally ordained to be here to help this person, I'm almost anointed to help this person, then I can't fail, right? And if I believe so strongly in the ability that I have to help someone to get what they need, then again, it changes the way that I show up and it changes the way that I help them. I know that it's bigger than me, right? And so if I come with that level of enthusiasm, I don't care what I'm doing. I always tell when I'm teaching in companies, I say, I don't care if you're on fries at McDonald's or you're sitting at the head of the boardroom, as a CEO, whatever you're doing, in that moment, you're supposed to be doing it. You're the called person. You're the person that's been selected in that moment to do it. So if I believe that and I can communicate that to the client, then it changes the way that they believe because I communicated differently, right? Yeah. So my confidence really is everything, right? I think also it matters because when we're confident, we communicate in a way that builds rapport. It creates trust. And it really creates better outcomes for that client because someone said earlier on in another episode as well, she said, we get in the boat with them and we literally help them row. So if I fail, we all go down, right? So if we think about it from that perspective, it's like they trust me because they know I'm all in. I'm all in and I'm here to make sure that they get what they want. Have you ever gone to a networking event or a conference and found that although you made great connections and you walked away with a stack full of business cards, you still didn't have a real plan for how to get a good return on your investment of both time and money? Well, let me tell you, having a networking and sales planner is a way for you to be more intentional about the way that you network.
Hey, I'm Susan Gladstein. I'm a functional nutrition and metabolism specialist, and I got connected with Tish because she is a rock star at systems and sales, and so I downloaded the planner to help get my brain organized as I went through a rebrand and launched a new course, and it's really helped me sort of get things out of my head and onto paper so that I can actually do follow-ups and not just rely on my brain. So far it's rocking my world and making my business systems that were non-existent actually have some sort of structure. So I love it. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed.
I've been working with sales professionals for almost 15 years. And one of the things that I find is that when they don't have a plan, they do nothing. They sit at their desk and wonder what to do. Well, with this networking and sales planner, you have profit producing activities for every single day of the week. It tells you where to go, what to say, even gives you prompts as to how to interact with people that you don't know. If you're an introvert and you feel like this isn't for you, I have already thought of you because I understand exactly how introverts think. So this gives you the tools enabling you to be armed with words, with language, so that you can make your networking more profitable.
Hey everyone, Rachel Neighbors here from solo401k.com. And I wanted to take a moment to talk about how awesome this sales networking planner is that Tish put out. So as you can see, I have it on my Remarkable. That's my sort of e-ink planner. And this sales planner has been so helpful for me. So I'm an old school pay-per-click marketer. I do Google ads, Facebook ads, and I know how to turn advertising into profit. But I didn't know how to turn network sales into profit. And when I met Tish, this woman literally wrote the book on networking called, Networking is Not a One-Night Stand. And she's put that experience and that energy and those valuable tips into this networking sales planner. And I just think that it can be so powerful for you in your business. I know it's been really helpful for me and mine. One thing that Tish told me is, Rachel, when you meet someone, put them into your planner and then follow up with them like they're a lead that you've generated on Google Ads or that you followed up with or that you've generated on Facebook. And that has been so helpful and transformative in my business. So thank you, Tish, for this awesome planner.
Maybe you don't even like networking. You say things like, networking doesn't work. Well, let me tell you, when you have a plan in place, you have some intention, and you have the tools to be able to make it work, you will see a different result. My new networking and sales planner is a game changer. It's the difference between you going to an event, wandering around and walking away without any purpose and without any new money, and walking into an event with a plan, with a purpose, and being able to convert new clients into your business. No one wants to feel inauthentic and pushy or even salesy when following up. So frequently we just don't do it at all. Well, the profitable follow-up formula, which is in the back of your networking and sales planner, will give you the tools and the language and the frequency with which you should be following up so that it feels very authentic. It feels genuine and natural both to you and to the people that you're reaching out to. Go to tishtimes.com/planner to get your digital or physical version of your planner.
Hi, my name is Cheryl James from CL James Consulting, and I just want to tell you a little bit about how awesome this networking sales planner is. I started intentionally networking at the beginning of this year, and I have been using my planner on a regular basis, not only to get inspiration, but to track the people I want to meet and the people I have met, and to make sure that I follow up with them from week to week. So if you are looking to network intentionally and hold yourself accountable, this planner is a must-have.
And once you get your planner, you'll also receive a video series that's going to teach you how to maximize your networking and how to use this planner to get the best result and best return on your investment of both time and money. If you are ready to stop wasting time with networking and turn your networking into a sales machine, then go to tishtimes.com/planner and grab your networking and sales planner. What do you think are the confidence killers? The things that kill our confidence as entrepreneurs, as business owners, as sales leaders? What are the biggest things that you think kill confidence?
The comparison game.
Yes.
The comparison game. You look on social media, you might see someone else who, is in the same industry as you, and maybe they're here and you're only here. And I think, dwelling on that gap is the biggest confident killer. You know what's really funny about that? Because I'm all about, I can rah-rah and cheer for someone who does what I do because I believe I do it differently. And I have people that are called to me. But I was finding that there were certain people that were causing me to feel a little bit of that. And so I gave myself permission, take it or leave it, whether this helps you or not, I hope it does. But I gave myself permission to stop looking. I literally said the people that I can rah-rah, but if I am finding that I'm allowing it to get in my head and I'm like, but I'm not there yet, or whatever it was, I just gave myself permission to unfollow and to look at different things. And that's what I needed to do in that moment. That may not be a long-term solution for everyone, but I just decided, you know what? I'm not going to willfully engage in things that are not good from my mindset. And so I'm always looking to learn from others who are further ahead of me. I'm always looking to collaborate with people who bring something different to the table. But if I'm finding that something that I'm watching or looking at is not helping me to feel good about myself, I say, you know what? I'm going to look at something different. And that's just a decision that I made for me. Yeah. And I think it's also knowing that there's more to the story.
Yeah.
I feel like we always look at social media and just go, oh, well, they just got this. Oh, they're just lucky. But there's always a bigger story.
There's always more to it. Yes. Right. There's more than the makeup. Yeah. When they take the makeup off, what really happens. Right. I also think there's a little bit of fear of rejection. So people don't always want to pick up the phone and make that call or send out that message or get on that live on social media because they feel like on some level there's someone that's just waiting to judge them, right? Waiting to say no. And not to say that no one will ever say, no to you or whatever, but at the end of the day, there are more people that are there to support and to celebrate than there are that are going to, there's always the negative Nancy's, whatever you want to call it. Poor Nancy, she gets a bad rap. But I definitely think that fear of rejection causes us to not show up at all. You do video, and so you probably have seen people who were really apprehensive about showing up on video, right?
Oh, definitely. That's exactly why we have Life is Always Live, but here you have take 2.
Yeah.
Because that's something people need to remember, that in video, you can do it again. You don't have to worry. But you also need to not worry so much about yourself. This reminds me of a story in the book, Psychology of Money, where they talk about how people want to get the Ferrari because they're like, oh, look at the guy in the Ferrari. The guy must be so cool. No one's really thinking about the person with the Ferrari. They're just looking at the car.
Right. So true. Very, very true. The other thing, which is so practical that we sometimes forget, is that sometimes our confidence killers are a lack of preparation. Just simply said, because, Steve Jobs, everybody can relate to this story. We would see him on stage when a new Apple product came out. He'd be on stage for 10 minutes tops, but he would rock the room for those 10 minutes. But what people don't always know is he would prepare for 2 weeks for that 10-minute talk. And so he would come out and look so confident and look like he had it all together because he took the time to make sure he was flawless in his presentation. And so in sales, we wing it way too much. We don't always take the time to research the potential customer that we're going to be talking to, understand their industry, understand the way that they communicate, how they want to receive information. And there's a multitude of ways that we don't have time to talk about today that can teach you how to do that. But it's definitely something that's possible to help us to feel more confident just by being a little bit better prepared.
So true. That's why I always talk about pre-production. That's exactly why we write scripts. That's exactly why we plan ahead. So we know what we're doing.
Yeah. And the other thing I think that, and this is a big one, and some people might not realize how important it is. We don't give ourselves permission to be fully ourselves. So when I'm trying to pretend to be someone else, I'm always a little shaky because I'm not used to wearing those shoes, right? I'm not used to putting on that fake smile or whatever. But when I can be fully myself, it's like, okay, let's just talk. Let me talk to you about what's going on with your process. I see some things. I can be fully myself. And so I feel most confident when I can fully be Tish Times. And I don't have to try to pretend to be anyone else. And I think that is important for us to know when we're selecting who our ideal clients are. I'll give you a quick story that really helped me to understand that. When I thought, coming out of a corporate environment, I thought that I had to sell to corporate. I thought I had to do all the things that I had done in that box that I had been sitting in for, 10 years. And so when I came out and I was like trying to create my own business, what I did was I created a new box, slapped my name on it, and I was like, I still don't like this. I didn't like it before, and now I still don't like it. Something's wrong. But when I decided, you know what? I don't want a box. I want a circle. You know what I mean? I want to be able to not wear the business suits. I want to be able to work from home and, and do things differently. It was like, I can sell to who I believe I'm really able to help and serve. I can sell to people that I like. Mm-hmm. Imagine that, right? I can choose the clients that I want to work with. It just changed the way that I showed up, and it gave me a lot more freedom to just be more confident, being myself. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like it's just realizing there's money for everyone.
Yeah.
Like there's enough money and enough business for everyone, and it is just figuring out, who do you jive with the most? Who can you really work with the best and help give them results? Yeah. And then don't worry about everyone else, because there'll be someone else for someone else.
That part. Don't worry about everyone else. When I realized there's enough business for everyone, it's like amazing. I used to lose confidence whenever I'd see someone opt out of my email list. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, they don't like me. Why? Now I'm like, oh, wow, they made room for the right person.
Yep.
That's okay. So being okay with understanding that there's enough business for everyone. There are people who are specifically looking for you because of who you are and who you show up as. And you can actually be yourself completely, fully, unapologetically, and enjoy the work that you do. So today, I really just wanted us to do a really quick, hit on being more confident in the way that you're selling. I'd love to have more conversations about this. So if you'd like to just kind of chat through it, reach out. We can have a deeper conversation about sales confidence. If it's something that you're dealing with, I'd be happy to share with you some additional ways to overcome lack of confidence in the way that you're selling. So we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I'd love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.